Hello, everyone. Welcome back to your Emotional Support Podcast, the place where we talk about self-worth, emotional wellness, healing, and all the weird little human experiences that somehow connect all of us. I'm your host, Noelle Rizzio. Today's episode is one that honestly surprised me a little. We're talking about going back to your hometown and why it can feel comforting, emotional, beautiful, painful, healing, and triggering all at the same time. Because if you've ever gone back home after being away for a while, you probably know what I mean. So maybe you drove past your old high school. Maybe you saw the grocery store where your mom used to shop. Maybe you ran into somebody who you haven't seen in 15 years. Maybe you sat in your childhood bedroom and suddenly felt 14 again emotionally, even though you're a fully grown adult paying taxes and scheduling your own dentist appointments. It's wild how quickly our nervous systems can travel back in time. Recently, I experienced this myself. I went back on Tuesday to Bloomington Normal, Illinois, to present at the Illinois State Board of Education Wellness Conference. And I was actually excited and looking forward to going back. I was looking forward to eating at my favorite restaurant, driving by my high school that's now a middle school, and just, driving past some other old haunts. And unfortunately, that is what I found. Haunts, ghosts of my past that I really wasn't ready for. Now, I have obviously done a lot of work on myself since I left Bloomington Normal. And I'm a very different person than I was when I left over 25 years ago. But what I didn't fully expect was how many emotions would come flooding back. Some beautiful memories came up, don't get me wrong, but so did some really painful ones. I forgot how painful living there was and how many actual painful things I went through. This brought back old insecurities, old versions of myself, and old feelings I thought I had completely outgrown. And honestly, it really caught me off guard. So today I wanted to talk about why this happens, why going home can impact your self-worth so deeply, and how to emotionally prepare yourself if you're heading back to a place that holds pieces of your past. Because home is complicated sometimes, and your emotional reaction to it makes sense. So this might not be for everybody, right? Some people live in the same town they grew up in and everything is wonderful and fine. But there are those of us that left, and maybe we left for a reason. And for whatever reason, we have to go back. Maybe our family still lives there, or, like in my case, I went and presented at this conference. Okay. So this is for you. And if it doesn't apply to you, maybe just listening and being aware of this might help you if you do run into somebody who hasn't been back home for a while. So why does going home feel so emotional? Our hometowns are rarely just physical spaces. They're emotional landscapes. They hold memories, identities, family dynamics, heartbreaks, friendships, rejection, comfort, loneliness, belonging, embarrassment, joy. I could go on. Your hometown often contains the earliest version of who you believed yourself to be, and that is important because self-worth starts forming very early. The messages we absorb as kids and teenagers don't just disappear because we became adults. Sometimes they quietly stay stored in the background until something activates them again. And being back in familiar environments can absolutely activate them. You can walk into a room and suddenly remember exactly how unseen you felt there. Or you can smell a certain smell and immediately feel safe and loved again. Our brains and nervous systems are deeply connected to memory. I'll tell you, when I walked into that restaurant that I loved, I worked there, I ate there all the time. It was so great. It was right across the street from my high school. And when I walked in to get my takeout, it was like nostalgia hit me, but in the worst way. When you go back home, your body may start reacting before your logical adult brain even catches up. And sometimes that reaction can feel really confusing. You think, why am I emotional right now? Why do I suddenly feel insecure? Why do I feel small again? I thought I moved past this, which is what I thought to myself 100%. But healing is not the same thing as erasing. You can absolutely grow, heal, and build a strong sense of self-worth and still feel emotionally revisited when you go to places connected to your younger self. That doesn't mean that you failed. Because that's kind of what I thought at the moment. I was like, wow, I really thought I got past all this. Now I'm back where I started. It doesn't mean that you failed. It means that you're human. One thing I noticed when I went home was this strange feeling of almost like meeting older versions of myself. Have you ever experienced that? You're driving around and suddenly you remember, oh my gosh, I used to feel so alone here. Or this is where I used to doubt myself constantly. Or this is where I felt happiest. It's almost like your memories become physical. And sometimes we forget how hard certain seasons of our life actually were until we stand where they happened. And I think that this is what happened to me. It kind of hit me like, holy crap, girl, you went through a lot. For me, some of those not so great memories definitely surfaced. And I genuinely thought I had moved far beyond them emotionally. It really stirred up some sadness for me. Not because I want to go backwards, but because I suddenly remembered how hard certain things felt at that time. I think sometimes when we heal, we become compassionate towards everyone except our younger selves. Right? Like, I don't like to think back to those times, so I don't like to think back to what I actually went through. We minimize what we went through. We tell ourselves that was years ago. It wasn't that bad, or other people had it worse. But revisiting those spaces can remind us, oh, wow, younger me was carrying a lot. And honestly, that realization deserves compassion, not judgment. I'm honestly like tearing up talking about this because it hits so close for me. And the fact that I just experienced this is very raw. So here's another thing that can happen. Sometimes our hometowns hold old identities that no longer fit us. This is 100% true for me. People may still see you as the shy one, the troublemaker, the insecure one, the awkward kid, the people pleaser, the overachiever, the one who never fit in. And even though you've grown tremendously, being around old environments or people can temporarily pull you back into those emotional circles, into those emotional roles. It's almost automatic. You may notice yourself shrinking, second guessing yourself, feeling less confident, feeling emotionally younger. That is not weakness. That's pattern memory. Your brain remembers who it learned to be in those environments. And sometimes it takes conscious effort to remind yourself, I'm not that version of me anymore. Because you aren't. You've grown. You've evolved. You've survived things that younger you couldn't even imagine yet. And honestly, that deserves acknowledgement. So let's talk about some ways to emotionally prepare yourself if you are heading back home, especially if it's been a while. For the first thing, expect emotions instead of fighting them. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make is expecting ourselves to feel neutral. That is exactly how I expected myself. Like, I expected myself to feel neutral, but also like kind of good, nostalgic, listen to some Counting Crows on the way. But home is rarely neutral. So instead of saying, I shouldn't feel emotional, try saying, it makes sense that this brings things up. That shift alone can reduce so much shame. The second way is to ground yourself in your current identity. Before you go, remind yourself who you are now, not who you were there, who you are now. Maybe journal beforehand. Make a list of things like what you've overcome, how you've grown, what you're proud of, what your life looks like today. because your hometown may remember an old version of you, but you do not have to move through the world as that version anymore. The third one is to protect your emotional energy. You do not need to attend every gathering. You do not need to revisit every place. You do not need to explain your growth to people committed to misunderstanding you. I'm going to read that again. You do not need to explain your growth to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Sometimes protecting your peace is the healthiest thing you can do. Think about, like, if I go back and drive by my ex-boyfriend's house, yeah, there might have been a lot of memories there, but there was a lot of bad shit that went down there too. Honestly, self-worth often looks less like proving yourself and more like preserving yourself. Also, build in emotional recovery time. This one is huge. If you're going home for a visit, try not to overschedule yourself afterward because emotional processing is exhausting. Even good trips can stir things up. Give yourself time afterwards to decompress, rest, journal, go for a walk, talk to someone safe, process what came up. You don't have to immediately snap back emotionally. I had the afternoon free when I left in the morning because honestly, like I had like, oh, I should walk around like downtown and do this and that. But in the morning when I woke up, I just wanted to leave. I just wanted to get out of town. So I did, and I came home, and then I had the afternoon free to just be at home in my safe space by myself and kind of process through those emotions that were really exhausting for me. The last thing I want you to try to do is notice what still hurts without shaming yourself. Sometimes going home reveals wounds that still need attention, and that's okay. Actually, that awareness can be incredibly healing because you can't care for wounds, you can't care for wounds you refuse to acknowledge. Maybe going home showed you still struggle with feeling unseen. You still crave approval. Sorry, that's my dog whining in the background. You still carry grief. You still feel rejected in certain ways. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're still human and still healing. And healing is layered. So I also want to say this. Going home is not only painful. There can also be incredible beauty in it. Sometimes you remember where your resilience started. That happened for me. Who loved you well? What shaped you? And how far you have come. Gosh, I'm going to start crying again. Sometimes you realize I survived that version of my life. And honestly, there's something deeply powerful about recognizing your own growth in the exact place where you struggled. You may walk through your hometown and realize, I am not the same person anymore. Not in a sad way, in a strong way. And that matters. And I'm literally saying this to you guys with tears rolling down my face. So, if like me, going home recently stirred up emotions for you, you're not being dramatic, you are not weak, and you're definitely not alone. Places carry emotional weight, and sometimes returning to them connects us with parts of ourselves that we haven't visited in a long time. Some of those parts need comfort, some need closure, some just need acknowledgement, but all of them deserve compassion. Your self-worth is not defined by who you used to be in those spaces. It's defined by the person you've continued becoming since then. And honestly, the fact that you've grown enough to recognize these emotional patterns at all says a lot about your healing. Thank you so much for being here today and for spending part of your time with me. If this episode resonated with you, send it to somebody who might need the reminder that going home can be emotionally complicated, and that's okay. I am so glad that you're here and you came with me today. I will talk to you next time.